Alrighty, hello and welcome back. In this video, we're going to be building out some of our private functions. So, in our private function here, we're going to say private function render text input, and this is going to take a name and the input. And there might be a better way to do this than what I'm doing. And if you think of that, go ahead, do it. I'm learning just as much as y'all are. This is the first time I've built out a class that's super complex like this. So if you think of a better way, you feel free to let me know. Okay, so what we're going to do is we'll say $attributes, and we're going to say that this attributes is going to be equal to our input with our options. So, and this options is going to be part of an array. So we'll say $input options, like so. And we're also going to say $attributes, and we're going to pass in the type. And we're going to say that that's equal to input type. And then finally, we're going to say attributes name, and that's going to be equal to the name. And then we're going to return a new component. And we're just going to pass input and attributes, like so. Okay. And essentially, this will generate an input on screen for us. And then inside our input here, which we set equal to this attributes, we can then say that, we can grab the classes and everything else when we pass it in, like so. So next, we're going to create a render link, and this will allow us to add links into our form. So private function render link, we're going to say $text, and this is going to take an input, and we're calling this an input, but it's actually more of just an array of input information. So all we're going to do is we're going to take options, and we're not going to return the attribute like that. Instead, we're just going to return new component, like so. And this is going to be an A anchor tag, and this is just going to take attributes, like so. Okay. And this actually will take some sort of text. So we do need to pass in the text into here as well. Almost forgot to do that. So this will generate a link for us. Now, what if we want a hidden input? Well, what we can do is we can do private function render hidden input, and it's going to take in a name and an input. And essentially, this is going to be the exact same thing. The only difference is that the type's going to be hidden, but it's going to be the exact same as what we had up here. Now, this is also why I created that custom component, so that way if we wanted to create a custom input, we can. So now we're going to render a select. So private function render select, and this is going to take in a name and an input. And this one's going to be a little bit different. So we're going to say $select is equal to new component, and this is going to be select. And all we're going to do is we're going to say the name, and then we're going to use an associative array, and this is going to point to the name. Then we're going to say for each $ input options and choices as $value, $display, and essentially it's just a key value pair, so you call this whatever you want. I'm just calling it display. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a new component with the value in the display, and then we're going to append that to our select. So what this will do is when we create this input, we're going to pass in an options array with choices. And the choices will also be an array with a key value pair. So the key will be this right here will be the actual value. And then the display is what's shown on screen. And so it will render out all those choices like so. And then we're going to append each input option, which if you know HTML, you have to have options inside your select. It'll render that and then append it to our actual select, because if you remember, we have that append function from our component class. So we can append this, and then when we render our HTML content, it will render the children. Okay, so there's one last thing to do, and that's just to return select. So that one is a little bit more complicated, but the next ones are super easy. So I'm just going to copy this render text input, and I'm going to call this render checkbox, like so. And so this is going to take the options like that, and instead of being input type, we're going to say that this is checkbox. And then we'll keep the name and then render the input. Okay, so now we need to build out a text area. So this is super simple. Essentially, we're going to create the attributes array like we did before, and then set the name, and then we're just going to return a component for the text area. Now, we do need to build a radio function. Like, those are the little buttons that you click, and then they can switch between the different options. Essentially, this is going to be very similar to the select. So I'm just going to copy this. It's not going to be the exact same. Render radio, but it will take in the same fields. And so we're going to not build out a component like so. Instead, we're going to say $radio HTML, and that's going to be equal to just an empty string. And then we're going to say for each input options choices as the key value pair that we have here. We're going to say new and actually before we do new component, we're going to say $attributes is equal to type radio, and then we're going to pass in the name and the value. Now we're going to create the radio. So, we're going to say new component, input, and then say attributes like so. And then say or actually radio, $label. We're going to say that's equal to a new component for label. And we're just going to pass an empty array. And now we're going to say $radio render like so. And then we're going to tack on an empty string and tack on the display. And then finally, we're just going to say $radio HTML dot equals $label render like so. And this will render that for us. And then we're going to turn radio HTML like so. It should be a $. Okay. The next one that we're going to build out is to render an input for a file. So this is going to be the exact same as this one. The only difference is this is going to be a file. So we'll say render file input. We'll take in the name, options, and then we'll say file like so. And then the next one is going to be a submit, and it's the exact same. So submit, and this will take in options, but be type submit instead. And we only have a handful of private functions left, so we're just going to power through those. We're going to say private function, and this one's going to be render attributes. And this will take in the attributes. And we'll say $ATT string is equal to an empty string. And then for each $attributes as $key value. And this is going to say the attribute string. And we're just going to change this here. We're going to say HTML special characters, $key. Stop adding on things I don't want it to add on. We're going to say dot, or concatenate that with an equal sign and a little quotation mark. And then we're going to concatenate HTML special characters, values, and then we're going to add another quotation like so, and a space at the end. We're going to get rid of that extra little thing there, and then we're going to return attribute string. Okay. And finally, for the last function that we're going to put into this video here, so I'm going to say public function get errors, and all this is going to be just a getter for this underscore errors. Okay, so that's all for this video. In the next video, we're going to build out one more private function and then move on to the rest of our public functions. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.